Good afternoon, everyone. We will discuss about human milk banking today, from protocol to practice. So, baby X was born at 27 weeks of gestation by emergency LSCS in view of fetal distress and maternal severe PE. Baby also had absent end diastolic flow in the Dopplers. Baby's birth weight was 600 grams, was initially started on CPAP in view of RDS, and baby was started on EBM on day 2 of life. Mother was encouraged to express breast milk and to pump electrically from day 1 of life. And she could produce some amount of milk from day 2. She could express her colostrum and give. So by day 3, day 4, the amount of milk production was not sufficient to give the babies sufficient amount of milk. And hence, in such circumstances, what we do is we provide the baby with donor human milk. So in 1980, WHO and UNICEF have jointly declared that where it is not possible for the biological mother to breastfeed her baby, the first alternative, if available, should be the use of human milk from other sources. Human milk bank should be made available in appropriate situations. So why are human milk banks necessary? Our country, India, bears the highest global burden of premature births, which is almost 23% of the global share, and 29% of neonatal deaths, which is almost 29% of the global share. So 75% of premature babies can be saved with simple, cost-effective interventions, and one of the most important among them being mother's own milk. So breast milk is the best made for babies. Sick babies and premature babies may not always have the privilege of getting their own mother's milk. And milk bank will have a positive impact on overall thinking of the people working in the hospital and all the people around. However, it should only be a temporary arrangement and it should never be a replacement for mother's own milk. It should only be complementary to a mother's efforts to feed her own baby. So all of us know about the nutritional importance of mother's own milk. It has the carbohydrates, proteins, fats, human milk oligosaccharides in quantities which are desired by her baby. The amount of vitamins and minerals also optimal for the baby's growth, be it a premature baby or a term baby. And the quantities of all these vitamins, minerals also keep changing according to the needs of the baby. What the formula doesn't contain and what mother's milk contains are the various hormones, growth factors, the healthy microbes like Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, Lactobacillus, Propionibacterium, which help in building up the microbiota, and the microRNAs, which help in constructing the infant's immune system through the intestine. According to the National Family Health Survey 5, the early initiation of breastfeeding rates is almost stagnant at 41.8%. However, it has increased from the earlier rates of 9% to 41%. The exclusive breastfeeding dates at 6 months has, however, increased from 54% to 63%. 14% of under 5 deaths can be prevented just by breastfeeding alone. WHO states that mother's own milk is the best form of nutrition for all babies, followed by donor milk, followed by formula milk. And when we compare the various forms of donor milk, donated fresh preterm milk is superior compared to donated fresh term milk, followed by pasteurized donor milk. So various studies which have shown the effect of donor human milk on the preterm babies have shown that the sepsis rates decreased by 19% when we compare donor human milk with formula. NEC rates decreased by 79% and ROP rates were also significantly lesser in babies fed with donor human milk. Feed intolerance like vomitings, gastric stasis, diarrhea was also lesser with babies who are fed with donor human milk. By reducing all these morbidities, the length of stay also reduced and the cost also reduced for the babies who are fed exclusively on human milk. Neurodevelopmental outcomes and long-term benefits are also better for babies who are fed with donor human milk when compared to the formula milk. So this study has compared the impact of early human milk on sepsis and the healthcare costs. So for every human milk dose of 10 ml per kg per day, incidence of sepsis has reduced by 19% and NICU costs were lowest among babies who received highest average daily human milk intake. So this is the Cochrane review comparing formula versus donor breast milk for feeding preterm babies or low birth weight babies. So formula increased rates of necrotizing enterocolitis by 1.87 times. And this is the systematic review and meta-analysis of comparison of human milk intake and the ROP rates. So any amount of human milk has reduced all forms of ROP as well as severe ROP by 24%, and severe ROP has reduced by 33%. So coming to the history, wet nursing was practiced since centuries in our country, and this has laid the foundation for the present-day human milk banking. The first human milk bank was started in Vienna, Austria in 1909. And from 1900s to the late 1950s, usually human milk banks were flourished. But after 1950s, formula milk intake has increased among the USA and UK. And this led to the decrease in human milk banking, followed by the resurgence of HIV in 1980, which has led to the closure of the milk banks. In 1985, Human Milk Bank Association of North America has issued stricter screening guidelines for HIV as well as pasteurization of milk for protection from CMV and HIV. And since then, again, human milk banks have increased. So Brazil is one nation where there is the huge amount of milk banks. Almost 40% of the global milk banks are present in just Brazil itself. So when we talk about our country, the first milk bank was started in Dharavi, Mumbai in November 27, 1989. This was started by Dr. Arnita Fernandez. It was known as the Sneha Milk Bank. At present, there are almost more than 100 to 110 milk banks in India. In Telangana, there are 8 milk banks, out of which 6 milk banks are present in Hyderabad. So we also have guidelines for the human milk bank management issued from our country. So milk banking is of various types. Lactation support is of various types. There should be lactation support units at all delivery points where skilled lactation support and counseling should be present for all the antenatal as well as postnatal mothers. Lactation management units need to be present at all district hospitals and sub-district hospitals. Here, expression of mother's milk, storage and dispensing of milk can be provided to babies in need. And comprehensive lactation management center is the highest form of lactation support, which is present in medical colleges with NICUs and large district hospitals. Here, along with milk donation, processing, storage, and dispensing of the milk is also done. So this is a comprehensive lactation management center, which is present in the SNCUs and NICUs. So here, antenatally breastfeeding counseling is given to all the pregnant mother. Early initiation of breastfeeding should be started within the first 1 hour of life. On-demand feeding needs to be promoted, and lactation support should be given postnatally also to all the mothers. Kangaroo mother care needs to be promoted and encouraged as it increases the chances of breastfeeding rates. And when, in spite of all the support, if the mother is not being able to provide her own milk, donor human milk facility needs to be available. So the CLMC also supplies donor human milk to all the smaller lactation support units connected to it. So the location of a human milk bank needs to be present within the NICU or in close proximity with an area of 250 square feet with uninterrupted power supply. The equipment needed for a human milk bank are a pasteurizer, a sterilizer, a deep fridge and a refrigerator, a laminar flow unit, breast pump and bottles, hot air oven or an autoclave. A human milk analyzer is optional. So the most important components of a functioning of a human milk bank are counseling, both antenatally as postnatally, use of breast pumps and expression of milk by manual expression, and donation of milk. So who are the babies who are going to receive the donor human milk? So all the very low birth weight babies less than 1.5 kg, all the premature babies, small for gestational babies, intrauterine growth restricted babies, and babies with absent or reversal of end diastolic flow in the Dopplers are the eligible candidates, most eligible candidates for receiving donor human milk, because these are the babies who are prone to necrotizing enterocolitis. Also, babies with NEC, feed intolerance, post-gastrointestinal surgeries, mothers with multiple pregnancies, babies who are adopted, and babies with absent or insufficient lactation in mother are also relative indications for giving donor human milk. So donor human milk is not intended for term babies. Discharge premature babies. Babies who are otherwise healthy but mothers have insufficient milk, mother's milk. So what are the functions of a milk bank? A milk bank needs to do selective donor recruitment, screen the mothers, express milk sanitarily. There should be temperature controlled milk handling. Pasteurization of milk needs to be done. Bacteriological testing needs to be done. Temperature controlled transport needs to be ensured, and milk needs to be allocated to the babies. So before establishment of the human milk bank and after establishment of the human milk bank also, staff needs to be trained regarding counseling the mothers, milk connection, hygiene measures, pumping of milk, and other quality control measures, cleaning of the human milk bank, maintaining of aseptic procedures, pasteurization, record maintenance, etc. So what is the manpower required for a human milk bank? We need a director, we need a milk bank officer, we need at least 2 lactation counselors who are the pillars of the milk bank, a technician, an attendant, and a microbiologist. So what are the criteria for milk donation? So a donor mother needs to be healthy. She needs to donate milk voluntarily. There shouldn't be any force on the mother to donate milk. And there shouldn't be any incentives also provided for milk donation. So where do we find these potential donors? So all the attendants or the mothers of babies in the NICU, mothers in the postnatal wards or the kangaroo mother care wards, mothers of the well baby follow-up clinics or at immunization sessions, and lactating women among the staff are the potential donors for milk donation. So what are the screening criteria for donor mothers? Once a mother approaches the CLMC for milk donation, we need to take history of the mother regarding any acute illness, any chronic infections like HIV, hepatitis, syphilis, etc. Any chronic inflammatory or autoimmune disorders which could be exacerbated during the pregnancy and might be requiring some drugs like steroids or immunosuppressants. Any history of transfusions, any addictions like alcohol, smoking, or illicit drugs. And then we need to proceed on to the examination to see local examination of the chest and breast for any rashes which are suggestive of herpes or varicella zoster, any other infection signs of COVID, or any chronic cough for more than 2 weeks, which could be suggestive of tuberculosis. So after history and examination, what are the contraindications for milk donation? So any mother who has received blood products or organ or tissue transplant or any permanent tattoo or body piercing other than single-use instruments within the last 1 year are usually contraindications for milk donation. And mother who is on daily alcohol, or if she is a user of tobacco or nicotine products including nicotine gum or e-cigarettes, or if she is on any illicit drugs, these are also absolute contraindications for milk donation. So after the history and physical examination, we do laboratory investigations for HIV, HBsAg, HCV, and syphilis. If she could produce reports from the past 6 months, it is sufficient. We do not usually ask for CMV because it is killed during pasteurization process. So what medications can be taken by mother who's donating milk? Multivitamins can be taken, calcium, iron supplements can be taken, thyroxine for hypothyroidism, or oral hypoglycemic drugs, insulin for gestational diabetes, hydrocot, progestin only pills or oral contraceptive pills are all can be taken. If she's taking any other drug, it is better to once talk with the physician and decide whether she has to donate milk or not. So then we take the consent from the mother. The consent form needs to be in a local language. We should mention that there are no charges being levied for milk donation. It is just a voluntary donation. There are no incentives being given. And she also knows that this milk is being donated for sick babies or premature babies in the NICU. We need to take consent both from the donor as well as the recipient. So once the mother is registered, then we need to educate the mother on hand hygiene measures to clean her hands before milk expression, to clean the local area and chest with just water, not to use soap repeatedly, for optimal skin care. And we also need to explain her regarding milk expression, both by using pumps as well as manual milk expression, and regarding handling and storage of milk, and regarding sterilization of pump. So complete asepsis needs to be taken during milk expression and during milk storage. So once again, we need to explain the mother regarding the correct technique of manual milk expression, because sometimes the pumps may not be effective for all mothers, but manual milk expression, if done correctly, is very effective in expressing of milk. So this is the milk expression area in our hospital where we use the hospital grade breast pumps. Electric pump is usually preferred, and every mother needs to be told to express milk within the first 1 hour of life after birth, and also express at least 8 to 10 times in the 24 hours per day. Also, double pumping, where we pump from both the breasts at the same time, usually increases milk output by 18%. So most of the mothers have a dilemma that if she is breastfeeding and if she is donating milk, will the milk supply reduce to her own baby? So we need to reassure her that lactogenesis 2, which happens after day 9, is usually autocry mediated. So the more is the milk, more is the emptying of the breast, the more is the milk production. And the milk supply is not going to reduce for her own baby. So after milk expression, milk storage is important. If milk is being donated for storage, then it is better to deep freeze it. Or if it is being used immediately for the baby, normally at room temperature, it is safe for at least 4 to 6 hours. In a refrigerator for 24 to 36 hours. And in a deep fridge, if it is unpasteurized milk, it is safe for 1 to 3 months. And if it is pasteurized milk, it is safe for 3 to 6 months. So milk is to be collected in BPA-free plastic containers or glass bottles. So BPA-free had plastic containers made from polypropylene are to be used. Polycarbonate containers are not recommended because they contain BPA. And stainless steel containers are again not recommended according to our guidelines because there is loss of cell counts during storage because of the oligodynamic effect of the nickel. So all of the containers should have tight fitting lids. And some amount of gap needs to be left after milk expression because milk will expand when frozen. So after milk is stored, then it needs to be collected and transported. If milk is being expressed at home, we have facility to collect through our hospital ambulance. So frozen milk is collected. Usually it is transported in cold chain, to maintain cold chain in ice boxes. And again, it is kept in deep freezer till further use. So once we receive the bottles, we need to label the containers with the name of the donor, the date of expression, the donor number, batch number, and the volume of donation. So if it is mother's own milk and if it is to be used within 24 hours, we store it in a refrigerator at +2 to +4 degrees centigrade. And if it's not to be used within 24 hours, we usually deep freeze it at -20 degrees centigrade. If it is a donor human milk, and it is usually stored in a deep freezer. So once the mother approaches the CLMC, we usually counsel her, take informed consent, do verbal history, do physical examination. And if everything is negative, we usually do serological testing. And if she is an eligible donor, we collect the milk, we label and store it in deep freezer. Then when milk is needed, we usually do milk pooling. And before milk pooling, usually pre-pasteurization testing can be done. And if it is positive, we usually discard the milk. And after the pasteurization process, again, testing is done for any bacterial growth. And if it is positive, again, we discard that milk. And if the cultures are negative, we label and store the milk in a deep freezer. And whenever milk is required, milk is donated. So this is our milk storage area. The first picture is showing unpasteurized milk, which is frozen in the deep freezer. And the second and third pics are the deep freezers where pasteurized milk is stored. It is preferable to have at least 2 deep freezers, one to store unpasteurized milk and one to store pasteurized milk. So whenever we need milk, usually thawing needs to be done. So thawing can be done in a refrigerator overnight, but the duration should not exceed more than 24 hours. And once thawed, milk should never be refreezed because it leads to hydrolysis of triglycerides. Thawing can sometimes be done again under running water, or it can be done by placing in a water bath. If we need milk urgently, we can do it by placing in a water bath at 37 degrees centigrade. We shouldn't cross the 37 degrees temperature limit. Or it can also be done in a bottle incubator or a bottle warmer. So this is again our thawing area. So frozen raw milk is thawed overnight in the refrigerator. So after thawing, when we want to do pasteurization, cooling is usually done. Cooling is preferable to be done in an autoclave. In a laminar flow unit. And if laminar flow unit is not available, it can be done on a stainless steel sterile slab. So cooled milk is usually collected into small sterile containers and it is sealed into bottles. So it is acceptable to collect milk, raw milk from at least 3 to 5 donors. So pre-pasteurization milk screening can be done once the cooling is done. So it is bacteriologically screened, 10 ml is sent for culture, and if any milk is showing colony count of more than 10 colony forming units, it is usually discarded. So this is the sterile automatic pasteurizer. So once the milk is cooled, then pasteurization is done. Pasteurization is before pasteurization, water is collected into the pasteurizer. Then it is preheated. Once the required temperature of 62.5 degrees is attained, then the milk bottles are placed into the red side. So here we usually follow the Holder's method of pasteurization. So milk is heated till 62.5 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes. And after that is done, the machine gives us a beep. And then we transfer the milk into the blue side where cooling is done. So cooling is again done till 4 degrees centigrade, rapid cooling. It is done for 10 minutes. And after that, the milk is collected and 10 ml of milk is sent for the microbiological testing. So pasteurization of milk is done by Holder's pasteurization by heating at 62.5 degrees for 30 minutes and then rapid cooling to 4 degrees for 10 minutes. So this kills all the microbes and also inactivates CMV and HIV. So the entire process is monitored by a temperature probe and which is connected to a computer. So during the entire process of milk collection, milk storage, pasteurization, and then further storage till it is used, the temperature maintenance needs to be strict. So post-pasteurization, again milk screening is done. So from one bottle, we collect 10 ml of milk under complete aseptic precautions. And this is sent for the cultures. Till the culture reports are available, we usually do not dispense the milk. So post pasteurization, again, they need to be labeled. The bottles need to be labeled with the batch number, the volume of milk, the date and time of pasteurization, and the date of expiry. So these are the microbiological reports. So till the reports are available, we usually label the bottles with a red color sticker indicating that the culture reports are awaited. And once the reports are negative, if there is no growth in the cultures, they are labeled with green, and these bottles can be dispensed to the babies in need. So if there is any colony count of more than 10, usually that milk is discarded. But so far we haven't got any such colony counts. So till the milk is to be used, we again store it in the deep refrigerator. So in a refrigerator, we usually store entire day's milk, whatever milk we need to use through the entire 24 hours period. And all the milk which is cooled and which is mixed for pasteurization can also be stored in the refrigerator till use. And also it can be used for thawing of milk for use before disposal. So again, record maintenance is very, very important for the functioning of a milk bank. We need all the records of heat treatment time, the temperatures, the microbiological results, the time of moving to the freezer, and the containers per batch. So at least 5 years records need to be maintained, but the incubation period for most of the infections is only going to be days to weeks. So to the recipient, milk is dispensed only by the prescription of a doctor, and we need to prioritize babies who are in utmost need, like premature babies or babies with necrotizing enterocolitis. So to the recipient in the hospital, obviously we can dispense it normally, but if you are dispensing it to a far off place, it should be again carried in a ice packs, defrosted in refrigerator, and provided at 37 degrees. So let us once again briefly discuss about the functioning of a human milk bank. First, a donor mother approaches us, CLMC. Here she is screened, she is registered, milk is expressed, and then milk is stored in a deep freezer. After that, whenever milk is needed, milk is thawed. Then pooling is done from 3 to 5 donors. Then pasteurization is done. Post pasteurization, macrobiological testing is done. So till there is any growth, we usually don't use the milk. If there is no growth, then milk is dispensed on the prescription of a doctor. It is thawed and milk is given to the recipient. So let us see the video of the process of human milk banking. So is this visible?
So what does it show?
So we'll just skip to the part. So under laminar flow, our sisters Sunita and Usha are collecting milk. So the milk is thawed. Now it is being pooled. So first 1 liter conical flask needs to be taken, and milk from 3 to 5 donors is usually collected in a conical jar, and from this milk is collected into the bottles. So this should be done under complete aseptic precautions. So before pooling, once we need to clean the entire unit, sterilize the unit, and whoever is doing the pooling has to clean their hands, wash their hands, wear the gown, mask, everything, follow the complete aseptic precautions. And once milk is pooled, next pasteurization is done. So this is the milk expression area where there is comfortable positioning for the mother as well as the breast pumps are available. So this is the deep freezer. Here, pasteurized milk is usually stored in the deep freezers. So this is the sterific pasteurizer. So we have milk water connections to the pasteurizer. Initially water is filled, then the pasteurizer is preheated. And once we get the temperature of 62.5 degrees, then the milk bottles which are present in the milk cage are inserted into the red part of the pasteurizer. So this is the temperature probe being inserted into one of the bottles so that strict temperature control is maintained throughout the procedure. So again, here milk is being heated at 62.5 degrees for 30 minutes. And once it's done, it usually gives us a beep. And then next milk cage is transferred into the blue part of the pasteurizer. So here cooling is done rapidly for 10 minutes to 4 degrees centigrade. And once the cooling is done, so this process is completely monitored. So initially preheating is done and then heating is done for 30 minutes. Following that, rapid cooling is done. So after the pasteurization process is done, again under complete aseptic precautions, we collect 10 ml of milk through a syringe from one of the bottle and it is sent for microbiological testing. So till the reports are available, we usually store the milk. They are labeled with red colored container, sorry, red color sticker. And once the culture reports are available, then we usually, then we dispense the milk to the babies in need. So this was our human milk bank, which was inaugurated in the November last year. So Honorable Governor has raised the event, and so there some of the donor mothers were also felicitated at the event. So this event has gained a lot of media coverage. It also has increased awareness among the people regarding the importance of the human milk, and many more donors have come to donate milk. And these are some of our preterm babies, 26-weeker babies, and a couple of 26 and 27-weeker babies. All of them initially did not receive much of mother's milk in the initial few days. And later they were given with the human milk in the later part. They were discharged on mother's milk on the later part. Some of my slides are missed. So to conclude, every baby should have the right to highest attainable standard of health, and mother's milk is the one which is going to give the highest attainable standard of health. So milk banks are the way forward. We need to protect, promote, and preserve the liquid gold. So pasteurized donor human milk needs to be only a short-term life-saving modality, and milk banks should never replace mother's milk. So I would like to conclude saying that milk donation is a selfless act of mother for other siblings, and please encourage donating milk and saving lives. So any questions? So if there are no further questions, we'll end the session. Thank you all for participating.